Good evening. This meeting will come to order. This is Zoning Board of Appeals, September 2018 meeting. Just for the record, there was no August meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and also a moment of silence for the victims of 9/11. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, before we get started this evening, we'd like to just take a couple of minutes to, we have some board business to take care of. Our secretary, John Vicino. John was a member and has resigned. He was a member as a commissioner and has resigned for personal reasons, time, things like that. We want to thank John for his dedication serving this board for 7 years for the welfare of the people of Milford. So we want to thank John. We're going to be nominating a new secretary this evening for John's position. So we're going to have nominations for secretary. I nominate Sarah Ferranti. Second. We have one nomination and we have a second nomination. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay. Want to make a motion to close the nominations? Okay. Okay. Nominations are closed. All in favor of Sarah Ferranti as our new secretary? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Sarah? Congratulations,
Thank
you're
you.
now secretary.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll get on with this meeting. If there's anyone here that feels that there's a member on this board that might be a conflict of interest with their agenda, please let us know. Please proceed. Thank you.
Item number 1, 273 Cherry Street, MBP 77/813/24 R10, P&D Hunter et al. Applicants, Milford Cemetery Association, owner, appeal the decision of the city planner dated April 16, 2018.
Okay, this hearing was held open. You can come forward. This hearing was held open from April. Was it April?
June.
June?
June 12th.
June, okay. So you're coming forward and you can go ahead and give us kind of a review. Every board member that's here right now, I have already asked them before the meeting if they're familiar with this hearing, and they are.
Okay.
So if you can give us kind of a brief review.
Can you hear me?
And if you have something new to add, please let us know. Thank you.
Pamela Hunter, 69 Spruce Street. Thank you for your time on June 12th. We apologize if we confused you with our presentation, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again tonight. We're here to discuss the approval of the Kings Highway Cemetery, Milford Cemetery Association, storage shed and organic recycling bins located at the rear of 273 Cherry Street by David Solkis. The building and the recycling bins were originally approved in 2001, and the plan was amended in 2015. We're appealing this decision based on the fact that the resulting structure violates at least 20 P&Z regulations, is an attractive nuisance, and is detrimental to the character of the entire neighborhood. It's important to note that our neighborhood and Kings Highway Cemetery are zoned as R10. The area behind our homes now looks like a commercial zone. The beginning of this problem began when what was stated to be a minor change to the original building plan was not a minor change. and in fact included a retaining wall and a major elevation change. The resulting change made a substantial impact on the neighborhood and our property values. At the June P&Z meeting, Mr. Sulkus stated that as long as the plan changes did not violate the regulations, then they were allowed. Mr. Sulkus asserted that the grading and location of the wall was shown on the plan. That is not true. There was ambiguity in the plan and the elevations were not shown. We are here tonight to argue that the ambiguity of the plan was not acceptable and that Planning and Zoning Department should have halted the work as soon as they realized there was a major change instead of a minor one. Last time we were here, the board actually asked us what we would like, and so we've laid it out. We live in a residential zone. We understand that we're not going to get back what we had before, but we think it would be reasonable to ask for it to look like a residential zone again. We'd like the recycling bins moved 20 feet off the property lines. Right now, they're 10 feet and right there. We'd like a white 6-foot vinyl fence running the property line to hide the bins. We're looking for a buffer zone that conforms with the zoning regulations and looks like the rest of the back of the property. And we're looking to replace the old walnut fence that was used abutting the property line of 69 Spruce Street. Another really brief document, that's number 3 there. We have a brief timeline. We understand that we presented a very confusing set of information to you, so we've given you 10 bullets that tell you from 2001 to 2018 how this came to pass. So there was an originally approved floor plans for the storage shed and recycling bins. In 2015, there was a minor amendment to the plan. We're contesting that that was not minor. Storage shed was built, and 6 months later, the retaining wall went up with the recycling bins. The rest of it, I think you guys are up to speed, but I'm happy to fill that in. My neighbor would like to bring up the plans that he's made copies for everybody and highlighted very, very well this time to show the discrepancy in the plans.
Okay, are you all set?
Yes.
Any questions? Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Right. Now that you told us what you want us to do we have the power to do what you want us to do?
According to your own zoning regulations, you do. And I'm sorry that I don't have that number in front of me, but it's 7.6.1 that says that if violations have been broken, the Zoning Board of Appeals has the authority to enforce.
I think that's a question that we'll ask the city planner. Okay.
And I can get you the number. We have it behind us. I didn't want to tell you your own regulations.
Okay. Any other questions for this lady? Okay. Who else is speaking on this appeal?
Good evening, Doug Adiosi, 63 Spruce Street. All right, what I just handed you is 3 pages. The front page is the approved site plan, side by side with the as-built site plan. The 2 pages behind it are full copies of the approved site plan, as well as the as-built site plan in bigger copies. All right. So I'd like to start off by addressing some comments from the June 12th meeting minutes that were in the online notes. This is Mr. Sulkus' response to the discussion. He said abutting properties can change and that there is no guarantee this will not happen. I expect a pool, a shed, a garden, What I don't expect is an 85-foot by 7.5-foot retaining wall with 4 or 5 feet of elevation that is unpermitted and unauthorized. Mr. Salkis also said that as long as the changes don't violate regulations, they are legal. I'm going to throw out 2 regulations. P&Z Regulation 7.1.3.8, character and appearance. The character and appearance of the proposed building, structures, uses, or outdoor signs will not be detrimental to the character and appearance of the surrounding neighborhood and will not adversely affect the general welfare of the inhabitants of the cities. I have pictures to support that. I will get to in a minute. 7.1.3.12, I'll also address in a second. He also said the grading and the location of the wall was shown on the plan. You have the plans in front of you. The second page is the approved plan. No indication of a wall, no indication of grading. There's not a proposed elevation change on any of the plans except for the as-built plan, which is also incorrect, and we'll address that in a minute. Any questions on that? The second violation is 7.1.3.12, statutory completion schedules. In case of any site plan approved on or after October 1st, 1984, except as provided in paragraph 2 of this subsection, all work in connection with such site plan shall be completed within a 5-year after the approval of the plan. The certificate of approval of such site plan shall state the date of which the 5-year period expires. Failure to complete all work within a such 5-year period shall result in automatic expiration of the approval of such site plan, except for in the case of a site plan approved on or after October 1st, 1989. The Planning and Zoning Board or Zoning Enforcement Officer approving such site plan may grant one or more extensions of such 5-year period, provided a total extension or extensions shall not exceed 10 years from the date of such site plan is approved. This site plan was approved in 2001. We're talking about a 2015 permit. The site plan, per planning and zoning regulation, should expire in 2011. The permit was approved in 2015. If you go on the white tab, the 3rd page in, I'm going to read an excerpt from that one, of the book. I'm sorry. The purple book, if you go to... This is the approval from February 12th, 2015. As its meeting held on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2014, I think that's a typo in there, the Planning and Zoning Board voted to approve your petition for a minor amendment to a special permit and site plan review to relocate the equipment storage buildings in organic recycle area, map 66, 67, 77, 78, block 813, parcel 24, in a R10 zone, which Milford Cemetery is the owner. Again, no indication on the approved site plan of a retaining wall or elevation. In per 71312, how can you amend something to a site plan that should have expired 4 years prior? Should that not make that permit null and void? Any questions?
Questions so far? Okay, continue, sir.
If you turn 8 pages in on the white tab, I'm going to read Mr. Harris's field report dated October 21st, 2016.
Okay, where was that again, please?
White tab, 8 pages in. It's in there pretty far.
Decisions?
It says Stephen Harris's field report.
Okay.
The stone retaining wall had been constructed approximately 25 to 35 feet farther to the west than shown on the plan. Again, where in the approved plan is the retaining wall? The enforcement officer had the ability to stop that at that point in October 2016, and yet it was allowed to continue. White tab again, 14 pages in. Email from Joe Griffith to the Cemetery Association, Ray Oliver, James Baird, CC, and Mr. Salkis. There appears to be a significant change in grade on the south property line caused by the construction of a retaining wall. not indicated on the plan. Again, how did Mr. Harris approve this back in 2016? 17 pages in. Email from Ms. Palumba to Ray Oliver, the architect. Additional grading not shown on approved plan. Those two statements right there prove that there was no retaining wall approved as well as elevation. Yet, Mr. Salkus approved it. Any questions? I'm going to read another excerpt from a Milford Mirror publication on April 19th of 2018. This was after the approval. The P&Z could have ruled another public hearing was required, but it did not. But after all was said and done, city officials determined the concrete storage bins were more like a retaining wall. Black and white.
Excuse me, can I?
That's in here too.
Who are you quoting, the Milford? Who are
This
you
is
quoting?
Mr. Harris. Mr. Griffith.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes, that's in blue section, 5 tabs in. So we already established that there was no approval for a retaining wall or the elevation. The cemetery has taken no action to correct those violations from what the city pointed out to them in emails and other correspondence, and yet Mr. Salkus still approved it. How did that possibly happen? How could the city planner approve something that has been proved and he has been CC'd on that isn't there? Questions?
You can continue, sir. Go ahead.
All right, so you're saying the retaining wall is not on the plan, correct?
Correct.
But they're showing the retaining wall with the bins on the plan.
They're showing the bins, not the retaining wall.
Well, it's got a wall going around it.
There was no elevation change. Those are just the recycle bins from 2015 that were moved from the north side of the property to the south side of the property. The permit mentions nothing about a retaining wall, only removing the recycle bins.
So the one on the left is the one from 2001, and what's the one on the right? You got,
Okay, the one, I'll get those up. The one on the left-hand side is from 2015.
2015.
That was the one that goes along with the permit that was approved in February 2015. The one on the right is the rebuilt, is the as-built plan
Okay.
from October of 2017. Now, let's jump to that now. The last meeting, I showed pictures, if you look for pictures 1 and 2 in your pile there. I brought those pictures up last time, and Mr. Salkus said, those are old pictures. What I was trying to prove there was the as-built plan and what is actually there, the elevation is totally different. If you look at picture 1, the architect and engineer has the level at the 3rd block up, which is approximately, they're what, 3 feet, what's that, 5 feet, 5.5 feet? And the picture on the right actually shows the elevation on the bottom ground. It's flat. That property was flat.
What's that? Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what, I stopped out there today and I looked at it. And these are old pictures, because I mean, it's totally overgrown.
right.
The arborvitaes are actually over the top of the fence already.
Absolutely.
And I
No,
mean,
those are weeds. I got pictures. Those are weeds.
well,
Okay. But,
I'll tell
but
you
again-
what, it's filling in pretty good. I
But
mean,
again,
from what I saw.
I'm pointing out that the elevation change for what is there to what they said is there is incorrect.
Well, from what I saw, you didn't have 9 feet of block there. It looked like there was about 6 feet,
There's 7.5.
7.5, and it was built up quite a bit, you know, to make the swale in there.
Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to get that to in a minute. So as you can see, picture 2 to picture 1, it's not the same, right? That dirt in picture 2 is not on the 3rd block up, as they're saying in picture 1. If you go to picture 3, they're putting the pipe down. Originally, that was unpermitted. They had to go to wetlands and fix that. So that's a pipe laying on top of the ground. Picture 4 is what you just referenced. It's the wood chips back there. Does that change the elevation, or does it change the height of the wall? A wall could only be 6 feet in a residential neighborhood. That wall's 7.5 feet. Top block has to come down. Or, where's the elevation change on the proposed elevation change on either blueprint, site plan? There isn't one. So I've emailed the city. I asked them, is it an elevation change, or is it just a pipe on the ground? Either way, it's a violation. That wall's too high. Again, the wall is unpermitted. If you look at picture 5, that's what you saw today. That is the overgrown mess back there. It's not filling in. Those are weeds.
Well, the arborvitaes are actually
They're getting higher, but the weeds are also higher.
8 to 12 inches above the vinyl fence.
There's also a regulation that says those trees had to be 7 foot when they put them in. We could go to that next if we like. But that's what it looks like behind the fence. And if you're out there today, you can see the weeds on top of that pile over the fence. So let's move on to the site plan. Let's start with the pink line.
Question, when was picture 4 taken?
Picture 4? Picture 4 was taken probably 2017 when they put them in. 4 feet.
They look about 3 feet below the fence there, so I mean.
They were about 4 feet high. They should have been 7.
Yeah, so they grew at least 3 feet in a year.
Year and a half, yes. That's not, but the point is they should have been 7. So let's look at the site plan. Let's start with the pink site. Left-hand side, pink line. Left-hand side is what was approved. Follow that line around. Do you see any difference between the Hunter's property and site plan? Left-hand side, elevation 30. Comes through the building, loops around through the headstones, comes back around by the fence. Right-hand side, loops way past the headstones, the other direction. About 3 feet off the fence. Not only that, Hunter's elevation change on their property. Right below the line. Question is, how did the Hunter's property line change, the elevation? I've been living next to him for 14 years. I haven't seen any new dirt come in there. The
Well,
two yellow lines.
They both
are
say there's headstones on each side, so I mean, they didn't raise the headstones, did they?
I don't know what they did back there. There's been so much work back there, who knows what's going on. But if we go to the right, now move over to the right a little bit by the wall, the 2 yellow lines are consistent on both drawings. Let's move to picture 6 and 7. That's what the property looked like before the retaining wall and the elevation changed. We're looking at the east side of the property there. Check out where the orange line is on the left-hand side. On the edge of the woods. Look for that orange line on the right-hand side.
And how many years ago was this picture?
Those pictures were taken when they built it. When they started in 2016?
2015?
Probably whenever they, 2016. May of 2016. So that land is flat. So if we look at the orange line, that line has moved roughly 60 feet on the right-hand side picture. Not a proposed. If it was proposed, correct me if I'm wrong, should have been solid like the 30 line in the right-hand side. That is just moved. Not only is it moved in the property of the cemetery, it's also moved in the house next to me, along with the blue line and the green line. That line is moved 85 feet to the west. What that does is shows the elevation change. If we go to picture 8 and picture 9, that is the edge of the woods where it was originally. Picture 9 shows piles of dirt, same part on the east-hand side of the property. Look how high that retaining wall is over there. Look at the piles of dirt. Again, from previous stated, from Ms. Palumbo and Mr. Griffith, there has been elevation change in there, not indicated on the plan. Picture 10.
Hold on a second.
Yep.
Picture 9.
Picture 9, yep.
Okay. Which side of the wall is all this dirt on?
That is the
Is this
side.
on the side of the wall where the
That
fence
is
is?
the side facing the woods.
It's on the side where the fence is right now, correct? This is the back side of the wall.
No, that's the side. That's not the back side. That's the side of the wall facing the woods.
You see over the top with the cupola?
I can't see that. The side facing.
And that's the storage building.
That's the storage building back there. That picture is taken from the woods towards the storage building, if that's a help. As you can see, there's piles of dirt, just piled up there. No elevation change on the approved plan. And if you look at picture 10, it shows the pipe coming down with fabric on it. They buried the pipe, rose the elevation change. And you also can see more piles of dirt. It's getting higher back there, as you can see between 9 and 10. Same angle. If you look at picture 11, that's what it looked like Sunday. Those are weeds. Those aren't trees, those are weeds. It's becoming a dump. It's really a sight for sore eyes back there. Again, this is zoned residential. It's black and white that stuff was done without permits. Mr. Griffith stated it, Ms. Palumbo stated it. Any questions on the elevation? I mean, you can obviously see that these plans were manipulated to show the elevation is already there when it actually wasn't. This is how it's getting away with the height of the wall being, is what they're saying it is. That wall is 7.5 feet high, not zoned for residential. 6 foot. So I think it's 412 something. It could only be 6 feet. Questions?
Yeah, you're saying this picture 11 is the most current one in this pile?
11 is the most current
Because
one.
all the rest here is during the construction or when they were getting established with that. I was by there Saturday afternoon at 12:30, and things look a lot different than these pictures right now.
Well, that's when they were building it.
Everything seems pretty much settled in place.
Yes, I have more. Current pictures, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. 16 was actually taken from this morning. As you can see in picture 12, you're using it as a dump. There's pallets back there. There's headstones back there. There's plows back there. There's big black bags back there. We look at this every day.
What time of day was this picture taken?
Which one?
Number 16.
16 was taken this morning.
What time?
I was on a conference call.
I mean, this is, I mean, it is a place, it is an operation, so they're out there.
They have to conform to the residential zone. They're allowed to do their work, but per planning and zoning, they have to conform to the residential area. They're turning dirt back.
What does that mean as far as hours of operation? What do you mean conform to what does that mean?
It has to, I think Mr. Hunter will address that, the zone. They're turning dirt, okay? But the problem is we look at this every day. And the reason why we look at it is because of the illegal elevation. They're 4 feet to 5 feet higher in elevation along my property line that was actually there. Again, in black and white, they said there was no approval for an elevation change. If that was a normal elevation, we probably wouldn't see that. No approval for a
Okay,
permit.
so what you're saying is that whole entire area has been built up.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, go ahead, continue on. Do you have a lot more? Because you did
Picture
cover...
14.
You did cover a lot of this stuff the last time.
Yes, picture 14.
And if we have other people coming up behind you, you know, we want to keep moving
Okay,
with this stuff.
I'm done.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Picture 14, I've been looking at that for 3 weeks. It's an upside-down trailer. 4 weeks. Residential zone neighborhood.
You know, I mean, you're showing this picture here, yet number 14. They can pretty much do as they choose over there.
No, they can't, because it's not in the work plan.
It's still an operation. It's still a business. It's a cemetery.
So where does it,
So, I mean, like I said, I went by there Saturday. There was nothing outside. So, in the course of the day, when you take these pictures...
that truck was out
What-
there Saturday.
When they take these pictures, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't stay that way all the time.
I'll tell you right
The
now.
other side of it, too, the other side of it, too, is you're physically going on the other side of the fence.
Picture 15.
Looking for things.
Picture 15, my backyard. There all the time. Picture 13, my backyard. There all the time. Picture 14, it's been there for 4 weeks. Picture 12, it's been there for 6 months. So yes, they're there all the time. If you went back there Saturday and you didn't see that trailer, you must not walk around the back. That was there. The issue here is,
Is it on the side of the garage?
it's on the
there?
side.
Yeah, I did notice it.
The issue here is, again, I can reiterate, it's unpermitted. I could read them again. Mr. Griffith, Ms. Palumbo, both stated no retaining wall, no elevation on the approved plans. My question is, how can Mr. Salkis approve something that is in black and white that's not approved? And nothing has changed since Ms. Palumbo's and Mr. Griffith's emails.
Okay, we'll ask Mr. Selkis that question. Go ahead.
One quick question. What are those concrete blocks, 18 inches or 24?
They're 18.
18, okay.
So the wall's 7.5 feet, 18 by 6. Wall's 85 feet long, 7.5 feet high. 1 block buried for a foundation.
Okay, any other questions for this gentleman?
The recycle bins are part of the retaining wall. They're on the backside of the retaining wall. It's 10 feet from the property. They're doing composting back there. The bin all the way to the right, there's probably 400 yards of dirt, screen dirt. Today alone, that picture I took today, they were probably back there for 40 minutes turning dirt and moving from bin to bin. You know, I'm sorry? I mean, Memorial Day, they were turning dirt on that Saturday and the dust was flying in the air. We had a party in the back and the dust was flying in the air. You know, if they did their day-to-day business and cleaned it up a little bit, I don't think we'd be here. But they're doing above and beyond what a cemetery is supposed to do. And again, it was unpermitted. It was unpermitted, unauthorized. And then it was approved.
Okay, any other questions? All right.
Joe,
go
could
ahead.
you state what you just said again, if they cleaned it up, what? I was looking at the pictures. The comment you just made.
You know, if it was clean and they did their day-to-day business and it was clean, we probably wouldn't be here. But it's unpermitted, unapproved. You know, and it's a construction zone in a residential neighborhood. It's above and beyond what a cemetery does. Cemetery digs a hole, there you have some extra dirt. There's 400 yards of dirt in that bin. It's a lot of graves.
Now, have you guys sat down with the Cemetery Association
We
at
sat
all?
down with Mr. Griffith back in 2017.
No, not Mr. Griffith, the Cemetery
We
Association.
tried to reach out to the Cemetery Association when this first happened. They ignored us. They were really good when they put the easement through my house, answering all our calls. After everything went up, we tried to sit with them. They ignored us. Again, we sat with Mr. Griffith back in 2017 in his office. He asked us what would make this go away. We said, hey, put a white fence up, move those bins 20 feet off, we'll go away. His comment to me was, I'll let Mr. Oliver know, but the president of the Cemetery Association said nothing's moving. I'm confused on who's running it. You know, I mean, this could have went away a year and a half ago, and not with a lot of money. We wouldn't be here. It was a simple fix. We didn't care that it was on, the elevation came up. Well, we did, but, you know, we were willing to deal with it because it's up. The building is really nice. They did an extra job on the building. It looks nice. But it's a construction zone 10 feet off my property on an unpermitted retaining wall with unpermitted elevation. I'm sure that if somebody had to bring 1,000+ yards of lumen or backfill, there's got to be permits. There was no permits for that. There's no inspection on the wall. No engineer came out and inspected that 7.5-foot retaining wall. It was done over the course of a weekend. So yes, we have reached out to the city when this first happened. And again, we gave them this, Mr. Griffith even drew up, traced it and asked us what we wanted to make go away. And what Ms. Hunter stated was what we asked him for. And we were told no, that the cemetery wasn't changing anything. So here we are.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else speaking on this appeal?
Evening. Doug Hunter, 69 Spruce Street. I just really have one thing to say about the whole mess. The one code violation that I find the most egregious is personally to my value, my property values. That in the middle of all this, we got our reevaluation, and our taxes had gone up by 1%. No big deal, except for my house now has an industrial park in the backyard. It no longer looks like a residential neighborhood. It's an industrial park. And if you can't see that from the pictures that we're showing you, standing there on their property and looking at it's one thing. Standing in my backyard in my second story and looking out every single day into an industrial park is a whole nother deal. But we went down to the tax association, tax assessor's office, and said, look, you know, this is ridiculous. Showed them a half a dozen, the pictures that you're looking at from our property, and they dropped our property values by 10%. So the City of Milford tax assessor's office took one look at what's going on back there and said, oh yeah, this is horrible. Your property values have been severely devalued. That alone, section 5.14.1, to protect property values through preservation of existing vegetation. I'm not going to read the entire statute, but it's up to the city to protect my values as well. It seems like the only people that are being protected is the Cemetery Association that have just been given carte blanche to do what they want back there, and I don't understand it. I really hope that you'll see that you have the power to overturn this decision and that you should. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else speaking? Are you speaking on the appeal or upholding? Go ahead.
I'm speaking in support of David Salkas's decision.
Okay, so, all right. Anyone else speaking on the appeal before we uphold the city planner? Why are you raising your hand, sir? What's your question? An outside person?
Well, he's the architect.
He has the right to voice his opinion on what the city planner had done. Yeah. So if there was anyone else speaking on the appeal, you know, on your side, all right, there wasn't. No one else came up speaking on the appeal. So now we're gonna. You know, you're just yelling out. I don't know what you said. Yes. Yes. So at this point, whoever's upholding the city planner's decision, they're allowed to speak. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ray Oliver, architect with offices at 3 Lafayette Street, Milford. I'd like to make 3 points about this application and the issues involved. Number 1 is as has been pointed out, this approval goes back, for the cemetery, goes back to 2002. And there was a public hearing at that time to allow for not only the construction of this area, which was the maintenance area, but also for a columbarium and other drainage work that affected the wetlands. That work was carried out at that time. The maintenance garage and the recycling areas were put off because the funds weren't there to do that. We came back under the prevailing special permit. The cemetery operates under a continuing special permit. So these permits for the work are under our continuing special permit for the operation of a cemetery in the residential zone. 2015, we came back with a revision to the site plan that we had presented earlier, which showed a relocation of the building, a somewhat increased size of the building, and a change in the location of the recycling bins. I've got all those plans here, and I don't know exactly what Mr. Gaudiosi presented you with, but I've got them here. All of the work that we've done has been done properly under the permits. I've got copies of all of the permits that have been issued to the cemetery throughout this period. Those permits were issued by zoning, by the building department, by the wetlands agency, and continued with all of them. They've all been approved up to the present.
So can I just ask you a question? So this all started around 2001, continued on to 2015?
Correct.
And then there was another special permit
There was
that time?
There was a hearing in 2015, public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Board, where the amendment to the site plan was viewed. I was here, I represented it. They asked questions, answered the questions, and it was approved unanimously by that board.
Planning and Zoning Board is a special permit.
Correct. And that's a part of this. If you'd like a copy of all these permits, I'd be glad to leave them with you. The site plans related to that are here. If you have any questions, I can show you that. The second point I'd like to make is that some of this controversy with the neighbors goes back to prior to the construction of the present project. I'd like to show you a couple of pictures. There was considerable encroachment on the part of the three neighbors that are at issue in this controversy. One of the neighbors, and you'll see this from the photograph, cut down a 44-inch copper beech tree that was on the cemetery property in order to keep it from shading his swimming pool. Another of the neighbors had encroached by more than 10 feet into the cemetery property with the fence and with their storage shed. The third neighbor had encroached by another 10 feet, clearing into our property and eliminating any vegetation that would have been buffering our property from their property. This is the cemetery property, and then the people on Spruce Street, the one neighbor here with that had cleared and cut down the beech tree. This neighbor had encroached with his fence and storage shed by more than 10 feet, and this neighbor had cleared into the cemetery property, using that as part of their yard.
Okay.
This is a Google photograph.
Okay.
These are
You guys can take a look at that. Again, turn on that microphone, please.
This is from the city map.
Okay. Turn that microphone up.
This is from the city GIS mapping showing the cutting down of the beech tree, the encroachment and the shed, and then clearing onto our property for their yard. And those are detailed in this.
Okay.
See that?
Thanks. Microphone. Okay, any questions for this gentleman?
So it's sort of unfortunate that the neighbors had a view that this was sort of their property to utilize, and that happens, it's a common thing when there is vacant land adjacent to people. I'm sure you've run into it many times, that people tend to not, you know, by any malicious intent, but they just feel that they can, you know, use that property, dump their leaves and that sort of thing there. So that, anyway, that's one of the second point I'd like to make. Third point I'd like to make is to try to clarify the condition of the retaining wall, storage bin structure. There's been some discussion that it doesn't conform with the as-built, and I think you've seen pictures that more recently describe what the finished condition of that structure is compared to the constructed pictures, where obviously you have to dig deep for a foundation and a drainage structure. This photo was taken in June when we had our first hearing, and it shows the exposed amount of wall, which is exactly the same.
June of this year?
Yes.
Right.
Which is exactly the same as it shows on the as-built. So there's,
I went out there today and I saw this, and these things are a lot
Right,
taller.
right.
It's filled in quite a bit.
Any questions? Are you all set with your presentations?
the final part of this, about the structure within 10 feet of the property line. As you know, this is a R10 zone. The setback in an R10 zone is 10 feet, and this wall is beyond the 10 feet. If we were to construct any other structure there, we could construct a structure there that was 35 feet high without having any variance at all. So this is well below the maximum that could be built adjacent to this property line. And as you can see from the photo, the top of the recycling bins, the concrete blocks, is approximately the same as the height of the fence. And now the arborvitae that we've planted along that area, you know, approximately every 8 feet, are filling in and are exceeding the height of the fence. So I think we're providing a substantial buffer that will be increasing over the years to provide visual separation from the cemetery to the neighbors. Thank you.
Okay, board, any questions? Okay. Anyone else speaking to uphold?
Good evening, members of the board. I am Attorney Max Case. My office is at 57 Plains Road in Milford. I'm also the secretary of the Milford Cemetery Association. I'm here to speak in support of the decision made by Mr. Sulkus. I must say, I've been here for a long time. I've always found Mr. Sulkus to be extremely careful, very diligent, and diligent to the point that before he makes a decision, he researches it thoroughly. I've also seen a copy of a letter prepared by Mr. Sulkus that's dated April 12th, 2018, which I believe is the basis for his decision. I've heard a lot of discussion tonight. I was not here in June, but I believe some of this is a reiteration. But I don't believe that anything that was said tonight addresses anything that was in Mr. Sulkus's letter of April 12th, 2018. And those are the points, if they're going to appeal, those are the points that they should be addressing. not some questions about whether something's a weed or a tree or something that happened in 2014 or 2015, or I'm not even sure what the date is. This is the letter that should be addressed, and it hasn't been. And for that reason, you should uphold the decision that Mr. Sulkus has made. He's entitled to your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a copy of that letter that we might be able to see? Can we see it, and maybe we'll just pass it around, we'll give it back. In the meantime, is there anyone else speaking to oppose? Anyone else speaking? Mr. Sulkus?
Good evening. I'm David Sulkus, your city planner. And I actually that was a good segue from Mr. Case, because what I was going to say is my job in this is rather simple. When the Planning and Zoning Board approves a project, and in this case, the Planning and Zoning Board approved this project, Mrs. Palumbo's Inland Wetlands Board approved this project, every city department approved this project. When the project is complete, every applicant who goes to the Planning and Zoning Board, when a project is complete, they are entitled to a certificate of zoning compliance that says that that project is substantially compliant with the approval given by the Planning and Zoning Board. In this case, we had a plan that the Planning and Zoning Board approved. I went out and I looked at it. I looked at the as-built, and I made a ruling that this project is substantially zoning compliant. It matches the plans that were approved by the Planning and Zoning Board. And that's simply it. That's the basis of the appeal tonight. Is people believe that I shouldn't have issued that, but I'm telling you that it matches what the board approved, and that's my role in this. That's the basis for me to issue the certificate of zoning compliance.
Can you state the date when you were out there stated when it was compliant? I believe it was 4/16.
If that's what's in the letter, I don't have the letter in front of me, but I would have issued them a letter saying that I had gone out and it's substantially compliant.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Sulkus? Go ahead.
Mr. Sulkus, Mr. Oliver said that they operate under a continuous special permit.
Their approvals, being a cemetery, their work is never done, for obvious reasons. But if you wanted to say a claim was made that the approval expired, well, no, a new approval for the new site plan was given in 2015. So when they were completed, when that letter came out, they were well within the time frame for completion. But the cemetery is just never complete.
So that new approval in 2015 started the ball rolling again. They came to you guys.
If you want to count that is something to count in an overall project whose work is never complete.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sulkus. Now, who wanted to speak? One of you people can come up and rebut. I'm sorry, I can't recall your name. You can come up, one of you.
Douglas Gaudiosi, 63 Spruce Street. First of all, we never got a letter in 2015 of the new site plan approval. And per zoning and zoning regulations, new site plan approval has to go through the whole board, engineering, everything like that, with the open letter. Neighbors never got notified of that. But to address Mr. Oliver's with the fence, that's me. Our neighbors was 10 feet into the property when we bought the house, and it was noticed when they did the easement. That wall is exactly 10 feet from my property. It was flat back there. That right there proves that it was flat. In Mr. Oliver's presentation, he mentioned recycle bins, storage shed, nothing about elevation change. Nothing about a retaining wall. Again, Mr. Griffith, Director of Planning and Zoning, mentions not approved retaining wall or elevation change. Ms. Palumbo, Inlands Wetlands Compliance Officer, no elevation change on the approved plans. I'm really curious on what plans were approved with the elevation and the retaining wall. We have city officials saying it's not in the approved plans. So how are they approved? Those emails are in the document in front of you in the white section. We addressed them earlier. I'm just curious on how they're approved. I'm really dumbfounded on how somebody could say they're approved and there's black and white saying no. That wall, again, is 10 feet from my property. No elevation change. My property's flat in the backyard up that point. Blueprints are manipulated to show the elevation change. It's right in front of you. They're highlighted. Those aren't proposed changes. Those are changes. Those are changes that manipulate the elevation along the property line that were in there prior to the as-built plan. So I'm just curious. You know, I wish somebody would answer my questions. I've been asking for a year and a half for these questions to be answered, and nobody seems to answer them. I don't know why. They're black and white. They're in here in black and white from the city. I have nothing else. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Could you address what Mr. Oliver said about the trees that were cut? 'Cause
I can't
in
address
his
the trees.
handout here, there's about
I could address the fence.
eight tree. What's your address number?
63 Spruce Street. It's the one directly behind the wall on the picture. I can't address the vegetation or the trees. I could address the fence.
Well, it says 63 took down a 36-inch
No.
oak and a 16-inch beech.
No.
Well,
They
I know the last hearing, you guys said that the cemetery cut all these trees
They took
down.
a tree down as part of the easement in my yard, but my fence is actually where the wall is. That's where my fence was. Why would I take a tree down behind my fence? It was flat. I took down no trees. So again, something manipulated to look like we're not telling the truth. There is a picture probably in here somewhere. If you look in the blue section, 3 pages in, that's a picture of my backyard prior to the white fence going up. There is no way I'm taking a tree down there. Blue section, blue tab, 3 pages in, I'm sorry, 4 pages in. Top picture. That's my backyard prior to the fence going up, the white fence and the construction's going in behind my house. There's no tree back there. I don't know what he's addressing. Like I said, I could address the fence because that fence was 10 feet on their property when they did a surveyor, and now the wall is where that fence is. So you could see what was there prior to the wall going up on that fence line.
Well, I think what he's getting at is previous maybe 10 years ago, whatever,
I've been there 13 years.
these were taken down
Nope.
to give,
Nope.
more sun to the pool.
I've been there 13 years. My wife has been there 15. That fence has been up prior to us even buying a house. There has been, and you can see the vegetation behind that fence. And that was taken, I don't know, 2014 maybe? So there is no tree in my backyard, and there is no way I'm taking a tree down behind there, especially that big.
Okay, we're all set.
So,
We're all set.
as you can see, it's there. There is no fence, tree back there. I have no idea what he's talking about for the trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. This hearing's closed. Okay. Got a lot of information. We're going to make a decision on this because this has been carried over. So, you know what your decision would be? To either uphold the decision of the city planner or overturn this decision. So, what are your comments? One of the things that we really have to look at is this was compliant April 16th of 2018. That's the most recent. We have a lot of back and forths on this, and, you know, some of the pictures are older pictures. Some of them are today, so.
Well, I just want to, you know, it's, he said, she said, you know, they're saying the trees were cut down, they're saying they weren't. I mean, I went out there today, and I thought I was going to see a lot worse than what I saw. It's filling in nice, and I didn't think it looked that bad. I know you were out there, Joe. What did you think?
Well, I was out there Saturday, and there were no vehicles around, everything was in the garage. I didn't notice the trailer on the side of the garage, but that's, I don't think that's much of an issue, so, it is what it is. It's a cemetery, it's a business, it's going to operate during the day. You know, we listened last time about this, and I can't understand or think why on a daily basis they would be grading and regrading. It looks pretty well established right now. I had looked at, from Spruce Street on the other side, I couldn't see the wall from the other side of the fence. So, yes, if you're in your second floor and you're looking down on the property, of course you can see it. But the cemetery has always been there, and it always will be there. I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, I mean, Mr. Oliver made a point that they could have built that storage shed right up within 10 feet of the property line. They could have gone up 3 stories, and they did move it quite a ways away, and, you know, it didn't look that bad to me.
Okay, any other thoughts? We need a motion. Go ahead, Kristen.
There's no options for modifications for moving the recycling bins?
I don't know. That would be a special condition.
I think we can either uphold it or
Mr.
not uphold
Chairman?
it, right?
Yes,
Just a point of clarification, the zoning board of appeals doesn't have any authority to condition an approval by the planning and zoning board.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That really answers that question. All right, so we need a motion.
I'll make a motion. A motion to uphold the decision of the city planner.
I second it.
We have a motion to uphold the decision of the city planner, and we have a second on the motion. Ms. Valakut.
My motion is to uphold.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. Decision upheld.
Item number 2, 771 East Broadway, MBP 22-474-30, R5, William Hamilla, agent for Tara Kolakowski, owner. Vary section 3.1.4.1, east side yard setback to 3.9 feet where 5 feet required. West side yard setback to 4.1 feet where 10 feet required. Section 4.1.4, front porch projection to 4.4 feet where 8 feet permitted. Front deck projection to 4.1 feet where 8 feet permitted. East rear deck projection to 3.9 feet where 4 feet permitted. West rear deck projection to 4.3 feet where 8 feet permitted to construct new single-family residence.
Good evening. My name is Attorney Richard Coalition. I represent Tara Kolakowski, who was the landowner, who was the owner of the property. This is.
I'm sorry, sir. You have to restate your name. She didn't get it.
My name is Attorney Richard Coalition. I represent Mrs. Tara Kolakowski, who is the landowner, and we're here to ask this board to grant the setback application that's in front of you.
Can you state your address as well, please?
My address is 10 Elizabeth Street, Derby, Connecticut. This is an application. This piece of property was destroyed by the Hurricane Sandy a few years ago, and after long and arduous negotiations with both FEMA, their insurance companies, and everyone else involved, they've decided to attempt to now rebuild the property after all this has been put aside.
Excuse me, sir. I really hate to interrupt you. Gentlemen talking to the rear. Gentlemen, please, we can hear you. Your conversation is bleeding over into this gentleman's presentation. Thank you. I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
And so now they finally endeavored to now rebuild the property, and they're asking that that the property under the same footprint that it's been on can be extended 9 feet with another 8 feet for a deck on property that they own, and I don't believe that there are any view violations, or I believe that it would also be in conformity with the rest of the property that's there.
It's on the original footprint, it's just that it's longer. And you have the
Yeah.
proposed 4.4 in the front.
Yeah, it would add an additional 300 square feet if it was the total calculations.
Any questions for this gentleman?
I also have a big picture of the backyard so that maybe it shows all the houses.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for this gentleman? Okay, is there anyone else speaking in favor of this application? Anyone here opposed? Anyone here opposed to this application? Any further questions before it closes? No? Okay. Okay, this hearing's closed.
Thank you.
Building on the same footprint, a little bit longer. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just the same footprint, just a little longer, and it's a very narrow lot in that area.
Okay, so, any other comments, or we need a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Reasons, please.
Approval is based on the narrowness of the lot.
Motion to approve, we have a second on the motion.
I second.
Ms. Valakut?
I second.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion, it's approved.
Item number 3, 164 Meadowside Road, MBP 34/266/28R 7.5, Marissa Engel and Andreas Engel, owners, vary section 3.1.4.1, side yard setback to 3 feet where 10 feet required to construct garage attached to the house.
Good evening, Marissa Engel, 164 Meadowside Road.
Andreas Engel, 164 Meadowside Road.
We are looking to vary one setback on our property to 3 feet where 10 feet would normally be required. We have an irregularly shaped lot that is slightly smaller than conforming. We're looking to conserve as much of the yard as possible after this project is completed for our 2 young children to play. The impacted neighbor has submitted a letter in support, which I could read into the record if you would indulge me.
You have a letter of support from your neighbor?
I certainly
Okay.
do, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, you can read it.
Okay. Dear board,
Just please hold that microphone a little closer to you.
Sure. Dear board members, we are writing this letter in support of the application for a variance relative to the property located at 164 Meadowside Road, which is directly next door to our property at 160 Meadowside Road. We have no objection to the granting of a variance to allow our neighbors, Andy and Marissa Engel, to construct a garage that would border our property closer to the property line than the zoning regulations would normally allow. Thank you, Sarah and Stephen Nierenberg.
Questions? Questions? No questions?
Is there?
Go ahead, Mr. Hirsch. All right, Ms. Ferranti.
There's an existing garage already?
There is not.
No. What is this?
This is,
There's one on the neighbor's property,
what is it?
but not on ours.
Right here on the house, it says garage right there. There's no garage, I drove by it somewhere. See, right there, it says garage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, on the front of your, it says existing one-story house, and on the front of it, it says garage. So
Oh.
it's a misprint up in the front
It
there.
is a misprint, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Says proposed garage, so. Any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Hirsch.
My question is, just from the photo, it looks like this is going to be a two-car garage?
That's correct.
Anyone else speaking in favor of this application? Anyone here opposed? Anyone here opposed? Okay, this hearing's closed.
Thank you.
Okay, board, what do you think?
I don't have a problem with it.
Make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Approval is based on the irregular shape of the lot.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second on the motion. Ms. Valkett?
I second the motion.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion, it's approved.
Item number 4, 74 Hawley Avenue, MBP 71/764/2, R5. Joseph Borer, agent for John Borer, owner. Vary section 4.1.1.4, accessory structure located in the front yard.
Hello, I'm John Borer. That was reversed. So I'm here for my uncle Joe Borer. Basically asking for an accessory structure in the front yard, which is a little deceiving because the front of the house is obviously 74 Hawley. This is one of those little access roads there in Woodmont. Looking to
So
rebuild.
you have two front yards.
Yeah, 2 front yards. There's an old shed there now that he's looking to replace with a garage there.
Do you have a hardship that you could state for this?
I guess it would just be the 2 front yards there. That road is more of an access road, not really a main road. Only a few houses use it. There's actually a few of these garages a few houses away, kind of all using that same access road. I know there's one that was just done 5 houses down on that same access road. Same exact structure, almost exact same size.
Yeah, there's a little road right behind it there. And actually, so this is going to be pulled, this is going to be 5 foot back off the road now.
Yeah.
As opposed to the shed that was actually almost on the road.
Yeah, the shed's like right on that road, for sure.
Anyone else speaking in favor of this application? Anyone here opposed? Any questions for this gentleman? Mr. Hirsch?
Can you clarify again your hardship? Usually 2 front yards is the opposite of a hardship. That seems to be something that is desirable.
He does have 2 front yards. There is a road there.
What was the question? I missed that.
He wanted you to restate your hardship. But
I guess it would be that
but there is a road in back and there is a road in front.
Yes.
Because I went by there and I'm like, what are we talking about here? And
Yeah,
I
mean,
was looking in your front yard like, we can't possibly put a
right.
structure
Yeah,
out
no,
here.
it's deceiving, the wording of it. It's really the rear yard, but I guess they consider having 2 front yards because of access. I mean, if you saw pictures of the house, it's an obvious backyard. I wouldn't put a garage on that front.
Go ahead.
We approved one on
We
that
did.
same street a few years back.
We
yeah.
did. Not too long ago. Same.
Yeah, that's kind of why they sparked
Same
him
thing,
asking
yeah.
for it.
Yep.
He has nowhere to park a car.
One thing set off another, so.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No? We're all set, ladies? Okay. I asked, anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? No? Okay, this hearing's closed. Seems simple to you again?
Yeah, we approved the exact same
Okay.
garage
You
a couple
did?
doors down a couple years ago.
You set a precedent, so.
And there are no setback variances requested.
Well, actually, we're coming in
Well-
5 feet now instead of being on the property line with the big barn.
Yeah.
So it's actually better.
It's better.
It's better. So we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Approval is based on the hardship of the 2 front yards.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second on the motion. Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion?
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the
Ms.
motion.
Zalika?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. It's approved.
Item number 5, 11 Point Beach Drive, MBP 30/636/4, R7.5. Paul Fonseca, owner, vary section 3.1.4.1, height from 35 feet to 39 feet to construct a new single-family residence.
All set. Hi, my name is Paul Fonseca. I am the property owner of
Please
11
pull that microphone up.
My name is Paul Fonseca. I'm the property owner of 11 Point Beach Drive, and applying for the variance on section 3.1.4.1 for a height variance as stated, which is max at 35 feet, and we're looking to do 39 feet. Accompanying with me are team members, Maura Newell, my architect, and Abigail Adams, the landscape architect, who will speak to the specifics of the plan, the current existing conditions, and the hardship related to it and what we're looking to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Abigail?
Good evening. I do have some boards. Can we pull the easel up? In which direction would you like us to face that?
Can you guys see that? Do you want it closer?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Abigail Adams, registered landscape architect, owner of A2 Land Consulting, 30 Rocky Hill Road, New Fairfield, Connecticut. This property is located on the south side of Point Beach Drive in the residential R7.5 zone. Currently, the 9,256 square foot lot is vacant with remnants of old concrete slabs and driveway. The Long Island Sound is at the south end of the property, and as you can see, there's a significant seawall that retains the property. The mean high water elevation is 2.9. The coastal jurisdiction line is 4.7, and the predominant elevation of the site is contour 7. As one can see, the property is almost bisected by the FEMA zone boundary, creating a hardship. The north portion of the property being in the AE flood elevation zone 12, and the south portion of the property being in the VE zone set at elevation 20. This plan represents the proposed site plan that was submitted with the application. The entire home and decks are being proposed within the AE zone, which is the flood elevation base of 12. But due to the close proximity of the VE zone, we're looking to raise the home above the minimal requirement to provide additional safety and to minimize the flood damage potential. With that, I'm going to pass it over to the architect for additional detail on the home and the elevations.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Maura Newell Wan. I'm with 72 Architects with offices at 248 Main Street in Danbury, Connecticut. I have a card for spelling. We are proposing a new home to be located in a R7.5 zone on Point Beach Drive. The building height limit is 35 feet in this zone. Section 11 of the zoning regulations states that the interpretation of the definition of building height shall be at the sole discretion of the Planning and Zoning Board. We come to you this evening to gain clarity and your permission to continue our design work on this new home. FEMA regulations in the AE zone push us up to 12 feet for the top of the first finished floor. Our grade is at about 7 feet, and our garage floor is at about 8 feet above sea level. We need that first finished floor about 10 feet above the garage to have proper clearance for the overhead door and structural framing. Our first floor has 9-foot ceilings, and the second floor has only 8-foot ceilings, as we are trying to minimize our overall height. The aesthetics of the proposed 10 and 12 pitch roof line are in keeping with regional architectural language. The roof line and building elevations are stepped to articulate the facade and break up the massing of the house. Details reflect a traditional New England vernacular. We seek a variance to allow our building height to be 39 feet to the midpoint of our tallest gable. This allows partial attic access space for mechanicals and storage while maintaining the 10 and 12 pitch look. As part of our study, I did create a roof line that meets the 35-foot requirement, and we would be at about a 6 and 12 pitch. We believe that the aesthetics of this low-pitch house are diminished enough to make it worth applying for this variance here tonight. We propose that the proposed house's we can put it back down, it's okay. No one wants to see that version. We propose the proposed house's architectural aesthetics are in keeping with the neighborhood, and we ask for your support of this height variance. Thank you.
We have a question for you. If you want to come back up, please.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Mr. Soda.
So you're stating that the garage has to be 10 feet off the finished floor?
No, just to say
structural?
that our first floor will be 10 feet above the garage, so we have room for the structure itself and then the overhead door before you hit the door head of the garage door. It ends up 10 feet.
But you don't have any plans that we can look at?
Oh, architectural plans?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
I just think
put
you
a
could
big
build this house
presentation board.
lower. I just feel you could build this house lower. I would like to see how you're designing it.
Okay, I'm sorry that I didn't bring a presentation board of floor plans. That's a totally reasonable request, and I guess I imagined they were in your packet, and I'm sorry that they're not. Let me see what I have in my folder. The sandwich of the building is such that we were hoping to have an 8-foot-high garage door, but that is too much to fit in there.
Yeah, 7-foot garage. What are you using for?
So it's a 7'6" garage door, and then we want to leave 9 to 12 inches for the opener, the track, and the opening machine itself.
Well, you can always use low overhead.
Low headroom still are like at least 6 inches.
What
and
size trusses you using for the floor?
We're looking at 16 inches right now, and that structural design still being finalized because we're going to finalize it based on our luck tonight.
And you've tried every design to try to get this lower?
My client was
We just
willing-
have a real hard time going over that 35-foot when we don't like to do it.
Okay,
We're-
our
we're setting
hardship
a
is that we're in
precedent.
the FEMA zone, and we're certainly thinking that this is aesthetically in keeping with the neighborhood, and
Hold on one second. Mr. Harris, it was stated that there's some new FEMA regulations. Is there any that you might know of?
The application doesn't cite a source when that's stated. I'm unaware of any new FEMA regulation for a 2-foot freeboard.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Because I have a question or two. What do you want to say? This? You stated all the mechanics are in the higher portion there.
Right, we won't be
You
able to
also
put-
stated that one floor has 8-foot ceilings and one has 9-foot ceilings, so, again, the limit, maximum height is 35 feet. We don't have any houses in Milford that are over 35 feet. So this house hasn't even been built, so that's why we're looking for ways to cut down this house so that it meets the requirements. If we were to allow a 39-foot house, then that's what's going to start happening all over. And I don't think this board's going to set that precedent.
Now, you're going to that midpoint of the gable?
that is the midpoint of the highest gable.
But you said you had 8-foot garage doors.
No, we can't fit 8-foot
Okay.
garage doors.
I think you could tweak it a little bit, maybe, you know, change your spans, get some smaller trusses, and maybe go 8.5-foot ceilings on the first floor, 8 foot on the second.
The 8-foot, the ceilings in the master bedroom, how high are they at the,
They're 8 foot, and we were hoping to work out the roof framing to do like a cathedral ceiling, but the top plate's at 8 feet.
the office is a cathedral as well?
Probably not, because that's where we need to get the mechanicals above it, but there's only 8-foot top plates on the second floor.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone else speaking on this? Anyone else speaking on this? Anyone else in favor of this application? Is there anyone here opposed? Anyone here opposed? Any additional questions? No? Okay. Okay, this hearing's closed. That's not a good statement. Like I had stated, there's got to be room to make this a 35-foot high house. So that's my feelings.
I agree.
We need a motion.
It's in the design stage. They can definitely get it in under 35.
Deny without prejudice. Well, you could either approve, deny without prejudice, deny.
No sense denying without prejudice. I make a motion to deny.
Second.
Reasons?
Denial is based on we've never did it, and we don't want to set precedent.
A motion to deny. We have a second on the motion. Ms. Falcott?
I second.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion, deny.
Item number 6, 124 Beach Avenue, MBP 60/743/10, R7.5. Thomas Lynch Esquire for Frederick Sarah, owner, vary section 3.1.4.1, front yard, Blackall Road, setback to 5.3 feet where 20 feet required to construct an addition to the residence.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just for the record, my name is Thomas Lynch. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Lynch, Trimbicki, and Boynton, and my office is located here in Milford at 63 Cherry Street. And I'm here tonight with my clients, Fred and Lisa Sarah, who are seated in the front row. Fred and Lisa are in Shelton right now, and they've signed a contract to purchase this property at 124 Beach Avenue, subject to the granting of a variance tonight to allow them to put an addition onto an existing house that, believe it or not, was built in 1910, contains some 4,500 square feet with 8 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. The property is located in the Woodmont section right past the flagpole there on Beach Avenue. And the request is to vary section 3141 for a front yard variance off of Blackall Street, which is to the rear of the residence. Just like the application that was presented to you just a short while ago, this property fronts on 2 city streets. It has a address of 124 Beach Avenue, but it does extend to Blackhall to the rear. The request is to vary the front yard setback requirement in the zone from 20 feet to 5.3 feet. And I think you were all given a copy of the layout that was put together by Ron Wassmer of Connecticut Civil Group. The proposed addition is to have a tandem 2-car garage attached to the house. There will be also a small bump out which would extend the living room currently on the property, and a mudroom coming in from the garage area as well. I did give you a handout that shows the proposed floor plan, the addition with elevation views. So it's clear there's a hardship here. There's 2 front yard setbacks that we have to hold. The existing house does front right on Blackhall Street. And if you actually look at the survey, there's a small encroachment of the house over the deed line into that area between the deed line and the improved city street. The addition will not be flush to the rear of the house. Rather, it's going to be set back some 5 feet. And I think there was some discussion early on. There was, I think, an original agenda that showed that there was a request also for a side yard variance. That's not the case. That's not something that we're asking for. In this zone, 10 and 5 feet on either side of the house is the requirement, and the proposed addition meets those standards. So clearly, the house is going to be in conformity with the area. The 2 residences on either side of 124 Beach Avenue currently have garages that are built right to the street line. So this actually being set 5 feet back from the street line will be less of an encroachment, so to speak, than the 2 properties on either side. So my clients are excited to move to Milford. They're excited to buy this property and to renovate it. It's a house that's been in disrepair for a good number of years, and they're committed to making it a real addition to the neighborhood, and I'd ask that you grant the variance.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Lynch? Go ahead, Mr. Hirsch.
Mr. Lynch, where are the current occupants, where would they be parking, assuming they live there?
It's going to be a tandem garage?
No, before. Where do they
Oh,
parking?
there's a gravel driveway there.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions? Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone else speaking in favor of this application? Is there anyone here opposed? If you're opposed, please come forward. Why don't you state your name and your address
Barbara Wagner,
and what your intentions might be?
29 Clinton Street. I'd like to read a letter from the Board of Warden and Burgesses of the Borough of Woodmont in opposition of this application. So, okay.
So this is from the borough, and the reasons stated why they're in opposition?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all right, yep. So you have a presentation of your own, or are you just presenting this? Okay. Are you stating your, Go ahead.
All right, so this is, I don't think I have to read all that. Just, dear Mr. Tizzola, at the September 4th meeting of the Board of Warden and Burgesses, it was brought to our attention by a resident that the owners of 124 Beach Avenue were requesting to vary section 3.1.4.1 front yard Blackhall Road setback to 5.3, where 20 feet required to construct an addition to residence. Without the opportunity or courtesy of seeing a plan, the board voted to oppose the application for the following reasons. Reduction of side yard is inconsistent with the character of the community. Fire safety hazard increases with buildings within such close proximity of adjacent structures. Restricts the flow of floodwaters, causing increase in volume and velocity of water flowing around adjacent buildings. Increases the height of floodwater in front of adjacent buildings. And also, there is no hardship other than what is created by the property owner. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Sincerely, Edward W. Benessi, Jr., Warden.
Is this just the warden's opinion, or is this
Well, the board
group?
voted.
Is it their board?
The board voted,
The board voted
to
okay.
oppose.
Go ahead.
It says without the opportunity or courtesy of seeing a plan, so are you saying you'd like to see the plans and look at it again, or?
Well, I mean, okay, normally, I know we have no voting power in the borough, but we are a municipality within the municipality of Milford. And normally, other people who have wanted to build additions or whatever, they will come before the board to ask approval and letters of recommendation to help their cause. And we, you know, we just were notified by the newspaper and a neighbor who was concerned.
You might have skipped a step, is what you're saying. You're saying we skipped a step. The borough should have been notified before.
Well, out of courtesy, yeah.
So if we kept the hearing open and they went back to you guys with plans, would that be acceptable to you? And got it approved by the board first?
Well, then we could do another vote on whether we would approve or not, yeah.
Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to look at this as a board right now, and we're going to make a decision on this right now. Okay?
Okay.
Is there anyone else in opposition? Anyone else here opposed? And I believe I already asked if there was anyone else in favor. Mr. Lynch.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Harris did show me a copy of that letter before the hearing, and I think there, again, was some confusion as to what we were looking for, because the letter made reference to reduction of side yards. There's no reduction or any variance of the side yard that's requested here. And in terms of going to the borough of Woodmont, I've been doing this for 38 years. I've represented many clients who have come before this board and the Planning and Zoning Board for requests, and they've owned property in the borough of Woodmont, and there's no requirement to go to the borough burgesses to seek their favor. I'm here before you. And secondly, per our regulations and per statute, letters went out to all interested parties within 200 feet of this site 2 weeks ago. A notice went into the newspaper, and talking about courtesies and coming to the borough, I mean, they had the opportunity to come up to the zoning office and look at the file. There's no requirement that we go before the borough of Woodmont or the burgesses or the Board of Wardens for their approval prior to coming before this board. My clients have a contract to purchase this property that calls for a closing within 30 days. I've cited a hardship to you. It's a very reasonable request. It's almost identical to the hardship that was claimed on the Hawley Avenue application that you just heard, so that I'd ask that you vote on this tonight, and I don't think I'm asking too much in doing so. Thank you.
Any questions for Attorney Lynch? No? No? Okay, this hearing's closed. Let's see. So we're going to look at this right now, and we're going to make a decision right now. I don't think we need a prerequisite.
The borough of Woodmont here stated one of their oppositions was the flow of flood waters. The existing house sits, it's not,
This is to the rear of the property. This is a long driveway in front of this property. This is almost to the back street.
You got 5 feet for floodwaters, so.
right, but the existing property sits on the ground also. Right,
I don't see any problem.
no.
No, I don't see a problem.
So let's make a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Approval is based on the hardship of the 2 front yards.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second on the motion. Ms. Valakat?
I'm with the motion.
Ms. Franti?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. It's approved.
Yes, 2 front yards.
All right, we're just going to take a couple of minute break here. Okay, we're ready to resume.
Shall I read them?
Yes,
one
go ahead.
right after another?
All right, so what we're going to do, Attorney Lynch. Attorney Lynch,
I'm going to make one presentation.
is 7 and 8
Yeah.
are the same, exactly the same. You do the one presentation and we'll vote separately on them.
I said to Stephen that similar to what we did a couple years ago with those two lots on Tanglewood Circle, they were identical applications, so I think that makes sense.
Item number 7, 16 Westmore Road, MBP 30/644/5, R 12.5, Thomas Lynch Esquire for RM Skinner Enterprises Incorporated owner, varies section 3.1.4.1, front yard setback to 16.4 feet where 30 feet required, side yard setback to 4 feet where 10 feet required to construct a single-family residence. And item 8, 20 Westmore Road, MBP 30/644/5A, R 12.5, Thomas Lynch for RM Skinner Enterprises, owner, varies section 3.1.4.1, front yard setback to 16.4 feet where 30 feet required, side yard setback to 4 feet where 10 feet required to construct a single-family residence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, just for the record, Thomas Lynch. On this application, or these two applications, I'm here tonight with two clients of mine, Roland Skinner, who's the manager of RM Skinner Enterprises, LLC. Roland is a well-recognized face before the zoning boards. He's been a builder of fine homes here in Milford for some 30 years. He has entered into a contract to purchase these two lots from my client, Charlene Adams, who's also seated in the front row. And we're before you tonight with, again, an application to allow the construction of two residences on two small 40 by 100 foot lots located in the Point Beach section of Milford. The variances are requested from the front yard setback on each lot from the required 30 feet to 16 feet. And on each lot, we're asking for the side yard on one side to be varied from 10 feet to 4 feet. So let me just sort of rehash a little history here. These two lots have a long history with the zoning office. I first represented Charlene back in 2006, and it extended into 2008 in the effort to have these two lots certified under Section 642 of our zoning regulations as legal nonconforming building lots. They are located to the rear of her present residence on Point Beach Drive, and the two lots front on an unimproved city street known as Westmore Road. So if you've seen the survey that we submitted to you that was prepared by Code Spody and Associates, the first step in the whole process back in 2006 through 2008 was to have the lots certified, proving that there's been no merger with the other properties that Ms. Adams owned. And Linda Stock, our former zoning enforcement officer and wonderful town clerk, she certified those lots as legal nonconforming building lots in 2008. The financial crisis sort of hit right around that time, so Charlene decided not to go forward with any development of the property. In 2015, we came before you with a novel theory to seek a variance of the requirement that a building lot or a residence be constructed on a lot that that fronts on an improved city street. We didn't want to have to spend the rather extensive amount of money that it would cost to bring Westmore Road back to these two lots. If you're familiar with the area, just past the paper road for where these two lots are is a large marshland, and Westmore Road is a paper road that will never get developed between the terminus of my client's property and the other end of Westmore Road, where if you remember a few years ago, Buddy Field appeared before you and got variances to build houses on the other side of Westmore Road. So we came before you, and ultimately we withdrew our application to vary the road frontage requirement, because with discussions with Stephen and also with the city attorney's office, it was determined that this board did not have the authority to vary that requirement. It's actually part of our subdivision requirements. So we made an application then in 2016 to the Planning and Zoning Board under Connecticut General Statute 8-24 to seek an agreement with the city of Milford to have a private driveway service these two lots. So it's a two-step process that we had to go through. We appeared before the Planning and Zoning Board. The Planning and Zoning Board unanimously voted for our request to then go to the Board of Aldermen for approval. We had a hearing here in this room, this hall, before the Board of Aldermen, and ultimately the Board of Aldermen approved the plan to have a private driveway access these two lots. My client signed an agreement. Mayor Blake signed an agreement. It was recorded on the Milford land records. And basically, it's an agreement that says that servicing these two lots, we did not have to improve Westmore Road. We did not have to pave it. We didn't have to have it conform to city standards in terms of width and sidewalks and all of that. And in return, my client's responsible for the plowing of it. She's responsible for having private garbage collection come to these two houses so that the refuse is picked up. You know, there's a couple of conditions in this agreement. But the bottom line is it's all part of this litany that I'm telling you that has gone back since since 2008. And now we're here today because Charlene has entered into a contract to sell these two lots to Roland Skinner, and we're before you with the plans to build these two houses. So, what's going to go there? Roland has designed two beautiful Nantucket-style houses. I don't know if the elevations and the floor plan were distributed to you. Meg, were they? Okay. All right, so you've seen what he's proposing. The style of these houses is very, very similar to the other homes along the beachfront, especially in the Point Beach area. They're going to be 24 feet by 50 feet. They're going to contain roughly 2.5 levels of improved living space. The first level will be the garage, living space on the second and third level, and then on the fourth level will be either a fourth bedroom or a loft office, and then the rest of the upstairs would be servicing or area for mechanicals. The houses would be roughly 3,000 square feet, and again, the floor plans have already been given to you. I don't see the need to really go through them again, but that's what Roland envisions putting on the property. Now, as to the request for the variances, we're asking for a variance of the front yard requirement from 30 feet to 16 feet. One of the things I want to stress to you is that these two lots are actually located in the R12-5 zone, whereas most of the rest of Point Beach is located in zone classification R5. So that in most of the surrounding houses on the properties in close proximity, there's a requirement to have a 10-foot setback and a 5-foot setback. In this zone, in the R12-5 zone, you're required to have 10 on each side. So we're holding, with this plan, a 10-foot side yard setback on one side. The request is to vary the other one to 4 feet. In terms of the front yard setback, I want to stress to you that the whole theory and the whole desire of having a setback of whatever feet in whatever zone is designed to have a reasonable distance for the house between the house and the roadway, so that when cars are going by, there's not a house that's built too close to the roadway for public safety reasons. Here, that's not the case. We have a private driveway. And if you look at the map, you also see that from the edge of the deed line to the private driveway, there's some 7 or 8 feet. I scaled it out before I came here tonight. There's some 7 or 8 feet additional feet of spacing between the driveway and the front deed line. So in essence, it's not really 16 feet. I want to say it's more like 20 feet because of the fact that you have that additional space that is created by the fact you don't have to have a city standard roadway in front of the house. So those are really the two points that I wanted to stress in terms of the hardships that's here. The houses in the area, I dare say that the last 2 times we appeared before boards, there were neighbors that were concerned about flooding. There were neighbors that were concerned about, well, what will construction of these 2 houses do in terms of drainage? We had a well-engineered plan that we presented to the Planning and Zoning Board and to the Board of Aldermen. Bob Weway from Codispodi and Associates appeared with me, and those neighbors, and I think maybe a couple of them are here tonight, their concerns were along drainage and flooding. The bottom line is this property is located in a flood zone. I mean, when it floods, it floods. So that's why you have the requirement of building houses to a certain level and to have breakaways and to have drainage in place. But the bottom line, it's in a flood zone. So that, you know, you can build on these 2 lots. And the point that I've stressed to you on other presentations is on these narrow 40 by 100-foot lots, you can build a house. It's what kind of a house are you going to build? And here we are proposing to build 2 houses that will be an enhancement to the neighborhood, not a skinny house that would be a detraction to the neighborhood. These are 2 homes that I dare say will be quite an addition to the neighborhood and have a positive impact on property values in the area. So with all that said, my clients are both here. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have, and that's our presentation to you.
Well, we have a long history, as you stated, on this property. The street was supposed to be cut through once upon a time.
Yeah, it's
so
a
now
paper road, Joe, that goes all the way out to...
Who was going to pay for the road?
Right.
So pretty much sums it up there. It's a private road.
Yes.
So there's a lot of conditions. Been approved by the Board of Aldermen to do that.
Yes, and the document was signed by my client and Mayor Blake, and it was recorded on the land records.
All right.
If you want, I can read into the record again what those conditions are.
I don't think that's necessary, but... Anyone else speaking in favor of this application? Is there anyone here opposed? Come forward if you're opposed.
My name is Tyler Lewis. I live at 11 Earl Street. Our property is alongside this property. Everything is accumulated over the particular time I'm not unhappy with, and I can't complain about that. The biggest thing I'm complaining about is I've always played by the rules. My father was a military man. He made the rules. My mother was the enforcer. And if I did something and questioned him, he says, if you can do it, then your brothers and sisters can too. Your mother will be in trouble. I used to own the property all the way between Earl Street and the current paper street. I had 4 lots. I picked them up later on. I had a first right of refusal from one of the previous owners of Charlene's house. So during that particular time, I was interested in building homes on the property, or one home on that back piece of property, which would be the northeast side, which is the highest side. And at that point, Westmore Road was paved within 20 feet of the lot by the city. I do have history there. I've been there since I was a kid. I know what the property was. I knew when they put the pipe in. I remember the weeds and the swamps where the house was going, but that makes no difference. The size of the house dwarfs everybody in the neighborhood. And being at the height that they have to sit, I don't know what the elevation. And that's not going to make any difference whether they push it out in the front or whatever they do. Everybody's going to be, they're going to be looking down at this, looking down in the hole at everybody. And I just dream of this picture of the small house that was there, and then a little city, then the city built around it, you know. And the second thing I have to pay attention to, it floods in there, and there's wetlands in there, and now they're pushing the house 16 feet closer to the wetlands, which was 60 feet, to whatever that wetlands is there, which I don't know, was there when I was a kid, it's not there now. As for the driveway, I'm happy it went, because it would have changed the whole trajectory of things. It would have caused a big mess. Everybody would have had to fill their lots in, and it wouldn't have never happened. And they look like beautiful houses. Mr. Skinner, I've seen his stuff over the years. He probably doesn't recognize me, but I've seen him before. I know who he is. He does good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else opposed? Please come forward.
My name is Barbara Lewis, and I live at 11 Earl Street. I don't think that by increasing the footprint of the houses that were originally planned for is a hardship. It puts more dollars into somebody's pocket. We are very concerned about the flooding issue. The alderman said to us after it was approved to stay on top of this. The land has been filled in. It has made it flood more, which does devalue our property in the long run. So I ask that you follow the rules and do not allow this variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in opposition? Anyone else speaking in opposition? Okay, Attorney Lynch, you can rebut, please.
Thank you. The Lewises opposed the other three applications that we brought to the other boards on those same grounds. I just would like to add, in terms of Mrs. Lewis's reference to wetlands, the development of these lots were completely reviewed by the Inland Wetlands Agency. Your file, actually, there's a letter from Mary Rose Palumbo to you, Joe, from February 25th of 2016, outlining how she has reviewed the plans and it meets all the standards. She has certain conditions that Mr. Skinner will have to adhere to, but it's been completely reviewed by Inland Wetlands. That was one of the major things that the Board of Aldermen wanted to see in terms of Bob Weway's plans that were submitted back in 2016. I would also like to just add that we have an aerial view of the Lewis's property as it sits in relation to my client's property. A picture speaks 1,000 words. What is going to go on these two lots is not going to infringe any water views or any views to the east or the north of the Lewises. And in terms of property that they had bought at another time to try to get a lot, it's because the zoning office wouldn't approve it, because as you can see here, there's sheds on the rear of their property. It created a merger situation. So they may have wanted to try to get a lot certified, but it was denied by zoning. So I'm going to offer this as an exhibit. You can pass it around. I'm going to put a circle with a star as to the Lewis's house, and you can see its proximity to my client's proposed development. And just one other thing to add, we did not seek any setback variance of the rear yard requirement, so there is a complete zoning compliant buffer between these two proposed houses and the Lewis's house. Thank you.
Thank you. You have your hand up, sir. I'll let you speak. Go ahead.
I wish Mr. Lynch would have talked to me about that shed. That went up quite a bit after all my dealings with planning and zoning. In fact, I had pretty much a verbal agreement at that time before I moved forward. So that shed didn't exist. and neither did that garage. I just put it up 7 years ago. And they can look up here in your records in planning and zoning. I went to planning and zoning to put that shed up. And it's an 8x8 shed. It wasn't even required at that particular time. And it's well outside the setbacks. So please don't say that I was ever denied anything from planning and zoning. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this hearing's closed.
Mr. Chairman, if I, just for clarity's sake, since items 7 and 8 were opened in tandem and presented in tandem, they're closed in tandem.
All right, 7 and 8 are the same. So,
However, the votes should be separate.
yes.
Separate vote
of
for
course,
7 and 8.
Of course. So when we make a motion on number 7 or 8, whether we approve or deny, let's do them separately. The hearing's closed for both of these, so we need a motion, or we need discussion. Thoughts?
Just clarify one thing, so they're changing the size of the original 2 houses that were proposed for here? Did I hear
No,
that?
the houses that you have in front of you are the ones that are proposed.
Okay. But what about the ones he was talking about for the city?
Do you know? Go ahead,
She
ask,
said the house has changed in size.
I don't know, maybe that was her speculation. She stated that, yes.
Didn't you state the house has changed in size?
can't
from
talk
what-
to
Mr. Chairman, the hearing
you
is
can't talk
closed.
to her.
Nobody can offer any more
Yeah.
testimony.
So we have what's in front of us, that's the size of the house. This is what you
Okay,
have in front of
so
you.
nothing was changed?
No, I don't know, it might have been speculation. So we have to, whatever you have in front of you right now is what we have. So let's look them over, talk about it, or if you're ready for a motion, again, each one has to be done individually. No. We could. No. So it's going to take,
We make
it's
the
going
same
to,
decision, but
it's
we
going
have
to
to do
take a
2
couple more
votes.
extra words to do them separately, so we're going to do them separately. You want to make a motion, Mr. Hirsch?
Well, let's just do this. Let's talk about 12 first and then move on to 16.
16
I'm
and
sorry.
20.
Excuse me. Let's
Item
talk
number
about-
7.
So let's talk about item number 7, okay. In terms of the side yard setback, I'm not sure the hardship regarding, well, I think there's a hardship for the side yard. I'm questioning the front yard setback, why they can't just move it back towards the rear of the property.
Because then you're going into the,
Yeah, the wet.
Mr.
Here's
Lynch
the flood
stated
zone, the
that.
wetlands flood
It's the
zone.
flood zone that's, you're pushing it further back.
Dotted line.
The house is positioned,
and the side yard setback he's going for 4 foot, but it's really 5.5 to the foundation. So you got an extra 1.5 in there.
it was approved for the location by the inland wetlands,
Correct, it was.
okay?
Yep.
So, who wants to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve. I make a motion to approve item number 16.
16,
Oh, no, it's items 7 and 8.
Oh, I make a motion to approve item 7.
I second.
Approval is based on the hardship of the size of the lot.
We have a motion to approve, we have a second on the motion. Ms. Valakut? Ms. Valakut, you with the motion or against the motion?
I'm with the motion.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion, it's approved. Item number 8, 20 Westmore. We need a motion.
I make a motion to approve item number 8.
Second.
Approval is based on the hardship of the narrowness of the lot.
Motion to approve and a second on the motion. Mr. Hirsch?
Second.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Ms. Valakut?
Against the motion.
I'm with the motion, it's approved.
Item number 9, 26 Ward Street, MBP 36/416/6, R5, John Gallagher, owner, varies section 3.1.4.1, side yard setback to 4.3 feet where 5 feet required for an addition.
My name is John Gallagher. I'm the owner. It's my wife, Mary. We both recently purchased this property, and we are here tonight looking for a variance to the side setback. As mentioned, the house currently sits at 4.3 versus the 5-foot requirement. What we're looking to do is we have an existing wraparound front porch. There's a section of the piece that wraps around that we'd like to utilize, take advantage of it, and make it part of the inside of the home. The house currently, the entire house runs consistently along the property at that 4.3 feet. And we're just trying to take that one section, it's about a 6-foot wide section, enclose it, utilize the existing footprint, utilize the footings, take advantage of the roof that's already there, and then make that part of the interior space of the house. The enclosed porch is all on the first floor. It's already boxed in by the roof and boxed in, obviously, in the first floor.
Okay, it's already all boxed in, like you said. It's squaring off, pretty much squaring off the house.
Pretty much squaring it off. We do have the hardship of the lot being so small. There's nothing else we can really do over there. We need a 5-foot on one side and a 10 on the other. We're pretty much there already.
Yeah, but nothing's changed in the outside footprint.
Nothing's changed. We're going to keep the aesthetic of the house the same. We're going to do the same exterior. Everything's going to look the same. We just want to utilize that space differently. Right now it's dark. It overlooks a fence, a lot of trees. It basically attracts bees and bugs, and it's a non-used space right now. So we'd like to take advantage of that.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to state your name and save?
Mary Gallagher, and just everything he said. We want to keep the integrity of the house. I think the house is cute. We're going to keep the whole front part of the porch, but just the little part that wraps around, it's just, I don't think it adds to the beauty of the house at all. So we're just going to like to enclose that and keep the whole front porch the same.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Any questions? No? Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone else speaking in favor? Is there anyone here opposed? If you're opposed, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Brigitte Lange. I live at 13 Ward Street. I'm opposed because I think when you close it, it's going to block the view of 4 houses that are on the other side.
Okay. Anything else?
I think it's it's too close to the street. The living area is going to be very close to the street.
It's not changing the outside footprint at all. It's just closing in what's already there.
Right, but when you close it in...
You know, view, we can mention view, but that's something that...
It's not affecting me, but I feel that it's not fair to ruin the view for 4 other houses.
Well, if we look at view, and we do this lots of times, we can't let the view hold back the owner from making, improvements on their property. Again, it's like with property. The closest one that's to the water has the view, and anybody behind them...
No, there's
no rights to the view on an application.
The way the houses were angled, it allowed people to be able to sit on their porches and see the water.
So what you're saying right now, they have an open porch, and you could see through their open porch?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? Any questions at all? No? We're all set? Okay. Did you want to rebut? We can let you say something if you want, because you do have an opposition, so you do have the privilege of rebutting.
Yeah, I just want to point out that do you have a drawing of what we're talking about? Oh, it can't impede anyone's view because the whole front porch is staying open and you can see right through it. We're talking about something that's hidden anyway over to the side. So
Back portion of the house. Yeah.
it's only the back. We're not touching the front.
Okay, thank you. All right, this hearing's closed. Okay, this hearing's closed. What do you think?
I don't have a problem with it.
It's a small close-in.
Yeah, it's already there.
We
We'll
can't
close
deny
it
them
in.
the use of their property.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Approval is based on the narrowness of the lot.
A motion to approve, and we have a second. Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Soda?
With the motion.
Ms. Ferranti?
With the
Ms.
motion.
Falcon?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion, it's approved. Okay. What time is it? We've got time left over. New business. We already covered new business. We have a new secretary. Okay, old business? Any old business? Any staff update? Acceptance of the minutes from July 11th, 2018. Did everyone read the minutes? Did we read them? We're in favor? Everything's okay?
Yes.
All in favor accepting the minutes? Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. Applications for next month? Shrug? A shrug of the shoulders, nothing so far?
There's one. Nudge, nudge.
We have no carryover. For a change,
For a
we have no
change.
carryover. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? This meeting is adjourned.